The genetic makeup of the unborn child is always a point of curiosity for any parent, especially if another previously born child has an inherited disorder. There's a common misconception that having a child with a genetic disorder decreases the chance that future children will be born with the same disorder. The goal of this video is to dispel this myth by giving a quick lesson on how a recessive disorder is manifested. An inherited disorder is represented by two alleles, a dominant allele, capital B, and a recessive allele, little b. An individual whose genotype is heterozygous with a big and little b will not show the disorder, while a homozygous genotype with two little b's will show the disorder. Brigham and Dahl crossed homozygous and heterozygous pea plants and showed how the phenotypic ratios of offspring depend on the genotypes of the parent pea plants. Like peas, the genetic makeup of offspring is dependent on the genetic makeup of the parents. A Punnett square shows the expected ratios of the offspring of heterozygous parents. There's a 1 in 4 chance of producing a child with two recessive alleles. The other expected genotypic ratios are 1/4 of the offspring will have a dominant allele, and 1/2 of the offspring will have a heterozygous genotype. These individuals will not be affected by a recessive disorder since they have a dominant allele. After the brief lesson in genetic inheritance, we are now ready to dispel the myth that having one child with a genetic disorder decreases the chance of other offspring having the disorder. We will use the concept of the gambler's fallacy to explain the inaccuracy of this myth. The gambler's fallacy is inspired by the concept that people who gamble like to think that outcomes can be predicted and that this would help them to win more games of chance. But the outcome of each pull of the handle of a slot machine is an independent event and does not depend on previous outcomes. Much like when tossing a coin, the chance of getting a head or tail is an independent of the outcome of previous tosses. The number of heads does not necessarily have to equal the number of tails. In short sequences, it is unlikely that an even distribution of head and tail outcomes will occur. Likewise, the genotype of each individual offspring is not dependent on the genotype of the offspring that was born before them, or the offspring that will be born in the future. Genetic outcome of each child are completely independent events. They do not rely on each other. Therefore, for each child, there is a 1 in 4 chance of inheriting a recessive disorder. It is simply a misconception that having a child with a genetic disorder decreases the chance of the future children will be born with the same disorder.